All right, we are on 8-7. It is time for us to take a look at some different little things that might happen when we factor. Please remember that main rule. I think it's a very important rule. Don't get yourself frustrated. We're just going to continue down the path that we have been. Take a look at some situations that might happen that I haven't introduced to you yet. So maybe a couple little more quirks today. Please remember that something that cannot be factored other than one in itself is called prime, and polynomials might be prime. Maybe we'll come across that today. All right, there's your example that has been with all of your steps. Let's take a look and just dive right into it. You guys know GCF, when we have to write things in factored form, we look for our greatest common factor. In this case, absolutely nothing goes into those numbers except for a 1, and they don't all have an x. To be quite honest with you, dividing by 1 is ridiculous. And this is almost like a waste of time. However, it's not a bad idea to do it just so you're always checking for that GCF. Once we find our GCF, we have to identify A, B, and C. My guess is that some of you can identify C and most of you can identify B, but A might be sneaky. Some of you might be thinking A is x squared. Well, that is not true. A is the number in front of x squared, the coefficient, so a 1. All right, now that we have that started, it's time for your ACB chart. So I'm going to do 1 times negative 40 and 3. Again, some of you might, Nessa and Jelly, I know it already. I know what multiplies to negative 40, and I know what adds to 3. All right, well, if you don't, that's what I'm going to do now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the rest of you can just wait for us to catch up to you. You're going to take negative 40 divided by 1, divided by 2, divided by 3. I'll start there. Negative 40 divided by, wow, someone's screaming, divided by 1 is negative 40. Add those, negative 39, not the 3 that we want. Divided by 2, negative 40, divided by 2 is negative 20. Add those, negative 18. Again, not what we want. Negative 40 divided by 3 is a decimal. Silly me. So definitely not what we want. Negative 40 divided by 4 is negative 10. Add those. You get negative 6. We're getting closer, but not it. Negative, so we did that one. Negative 40, so not, and it wasn't that one, divided by 5 is negative 8. Add those. Negative 3. We got it. All we need to do, because we want a positive 3, is switch, switch, and switch. Let's go to our box. Hopefully the setup is going a lot better for you. Remember, you don't look at the original, you look after your GCF. This one goes here. This one goes here. And then our magic numbers, or our magic factors, negative 5 and 8, go here and here, and they get half of the variable presented, so an x and an x. The GCF here is a 1 and an x, because only 1 goes into those numbers. The GCF here can be sneaky. Some of you might be thinking 2. Some of you might be thinking 4, but those would be wrong because it is actually the 8 and a positive from the top. The GCF here and here, so we have a 1 with an x, and 5 and a 40, what goes into 5? 5, and a minus from the top, the left. My final answer is my GCF of 1, my 1x plus 8, and my 1x take away 5. Please remember the keystones will not have the coefficients of 1, and if your GCF is 1, they don't actually consider that like a separate factor. So there it is. Our factored form is x plus 8 and x minus 5. Say hi. Oh my gosh, you're so annoying. Totally sending that to your mom. Okay, moving on to number 2. We're going to take a look. Oh, number 2 is kind of messed up, isn't it? That is not at all in standard form. We got to do this before we even start. That was weird. Okay, so that's going to be x squared when you multiply. Take away 5x, take away 14. Whew, that was a really sneaky one. You have to get it in standard form before you can even begin to find its factors. All right, so boo, that was mean. Now, my GCF. My GCF of all of these items is, again, just a 1. In this problem, what I wanted to present to you is that the keystones might give it to you in kind of a wonky way, and you had to get it into standard form. I actually pulled that problem from a keystone practice. Okay, so A is 1 because of the 1 there, just like the last problem. B is negative 5 and C is negative 14. Just be careful with that 1. That tends to trip kids up. So I got my A, C, and my B. My B is negative 5. AC is negative 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe you already know it, so just hold on and let me get there for the other kids. So I'm going to do, excuse me, negative 14 divided by 1 is negative 14. Add those two together, and you get negative 13. Not what I want. Now I'm going to do negative 14 divided by 2. Notice I get negative 7. Add, and I get negative 5. Well, that is exactly what I want. So those are my magic factors. I'll highlight them so I don't draw on top of them. It's time to go to the box. The top left of the box comes from right here, 1x squared. The bottom right of the box comes from right here, negative 14. The catty corner, we'll move that over. Okay. The catty corner boxes are from my magic factors and half of the first variable. Tomorrow I'm going to put double variables in there for you. So this GCF coefficient is a 1 and a single x. This GCF is a 7 and a negative from the top because 7 goes into both of them, not just 1. This GCF is a 1. Anytime you see a 1, that's your GCF, okay? And a single x. And this GCF is a 2 with no x's and a plus from the left. My final answer is 1 from my GCF, 1x take away 7 from my binomial that I got, and 1x add 2. Let's remember, though, that the keystones will not have the coefficients of 1, and they won't have a GCF of 1 because it's like not a thing. So it is technically the greatest common factor, but we don't state it. It's implied. So my final answer is just the product of two binomials, two factors, x minus 7 and x plus 2. Now it's time for number 3. Okay, so I am going to be looking for my GCF, which is tempting to maybe pick 4, but 4 doesn't go into 2. So my GCF is going to be a 2. 2 is the only thing, and there's no variables that they all have in common. Dividing out of 2, I get 2x squared. Dividing out of 2, I get 1x. And dividing out of 2, I get minus 15. Don't use those numbers anymore, okay? A is 2, B is negative 1, and C is negative 15. Now for my ACB chart. 2 times negative 15 and negative 1. Negative 30, when you multiply 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It is in that list, I promise. Negative 30. I'm doing the keystrokes on the calculator in case you're not sure like how to do it. I want to make sure you understand like the process, and then you add. Not what I want. I want to get negative 1 over here. Okay, negative 30 divided by 2. Negative 15, add. Negative 13. Again, not what I want because I want to get a negative 1. Negative 30 divided by 3. Negative 10. Negative 7 when you add. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you. Not my answer. Negative 30 divided by 4. I'm going to get a decimal. So, nope, because it's a decimal. Negative 30 divided by 5. Add, and that is exactly what I want. I don't have to do any sign changing. Time to go to the box. I put my 2x squared in the top left. Negative 15. Catty corner 5 and negative 6 with half the variables presented, so x and x instead of x squared. GCF here, the only thing that goes into 2 and 5 is 1, and they both have a single x. GCF here, well, the only thing that goes into 6 and 15, I know you might be tempted to say 1, but it's actually a 3. 3 goes into both of them. It's the biggest thing, and a negative sign from the top. GCF here is a 2 and a single x. 2 goes into both those numbers, coefficients. And GCF here is a 5. 5 goes into both those coefficients, and a plus from the left. Final answer is a 2 with a 1x take away 3, and a 2x, sorry, it was messy, and a 2x add 5. However, the keystones will not have the coefficient of 1. So my three factors are 2, x minus 3, and 2x plus 5. Number 4. My GCF and number 4, let's take a look. Are they all even? No. Ooh, maybe 3, right? Are you guys tempted to pick 3? Ah, bummer. 10 doesn't divide by 3. And 9 doesn't divide by 2. And that's really it. Those are my only options, 3, 2, and 6. So just a 1. And they all, there we go. They all, oh, no, they don't. No, they don't. This one doesn't have a Y. Ooh, sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. So my GCF is simply a 1, which legitimately does absolutely nothing. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Do you have to rewrite it when GCF is a 1? No way. You really don't. I just did it for emphasis because sometimes like if we don't do it, we forget about it. So this is 4 terms. Did you guys notice that? Hey, by the way, 4 terms need to be checked once we're done. So go straight to the box with 4 terms. 6x3y and negative 15y. So the first and the last go where we always put them. 10x2 and negative 9xy can go, either one of those boxes could get filled with them. GCF of these, coefficient is a 3, and they both have a single x, and they both have a single y. Whew, that was a lot. GCF here is a 5, a positive from the top, and they don't both have an x, and they don't both have a y. GCF here is a 2. 2 goes into both of those number coefficients, and they both have an x, and the smallest exponent is x squared. They do not both have a y. GCF here, 3 goes into 9 and 15. You pull a negative from the left, and they both have a single y. Now, 4 terms can be hard. They really can be. Because sometimes the box makes it look like they factor, but if you don't check them, it's like, oh no, that was actually prime. So the GCF of 1 is useless to me. I'll put it there, and then I'll erase it later. I have to check these. So I'm going to get a different color highlighter and check them as I go along. So this times this would make a 6, x to the third, and a y. Check. This times this would make a negative, a 9, an x, and a y squared. Ooh, that is not a check. Now let me see if I screwed anything up. I didn't screw anything up. I'm just taking a look at the original. Had I made that a y, if I had made this right here a y squared at the beginning, this would actually factor, I think. But that does not check in, and I did all my, I'm just double checking all my multiplications right. Oof, because this does not match this, that means that that box just kind of messed with us. The box is actually useless in this problem, almost in a sneaky way. But because I didn't have a 9x squared y, we would actually be wrong if we answered like this. So I'm going to erase this. Unfortunately, our work there was useless. Our final answer is just what it was originally. This entire polynomial was prime. The entire thing was prime because the only thing that you could factor out was a 1. So our final answer is legitimately that, and we would have said prime because the only factor that comes out would have been a 1. And the box let us down because when we distributed, we would have got a y squared, and we didn't have a y squared up here. Ooh, that was super sneaky. Ooh. Okay, number 5. I didn't like that one. I bet you didn't either. GCF on number 5. Oh, what goes? I think 7, right? 63 divides by 7, 28 divides by 7. There it is. So when I divide by 7, and that comes from years of practice, folks. Unfortunately, you're going to have to know your multiplication tables to help you out here. So I am going to go ahead and try to roll with this. I have A as 9, B as 0. Did you remember that? And C as 4. A, C, and B are going to be my numbers. So 9 times 4 is 36. B is 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 36 divided by 1 is 36. Add those to get 37. Definitely not what I want. 36 divided by 2 is 18. Add those, get 20. Definitely not what I want. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Add those to get 15. Not what I want. 36 divided by 4 is 9. Add those, not what I want. 36 divided by 5 is a decimal, not what I want. 36 divided by 6 is 6. That makes 12. Whew. Now I could keep going. Honestly, like if I wanted to, I could do 8. Let me see. I'm trying to think what goes into it. 7, no. 8, no. 9 would give you 4 and 13. But you see how it's almost like we're, at this point, we're just doubling this chart because I started with 9 and 4 here. See that? So there's nothing. Maybe some of you are like, well, Miss Angeli, and I'm guessing, okay, because this is a good, this is a normal question. Don't these make 0? Well, no. And you can't just change one sign, can you? Remember the rule? You can't just like change one of the 6s. You have to change all of them or none of them. So because I got 12 and I can never get a 0 out of this because I started like repeating my process, this is in fact, this binomial right there is prime. So my final answer in factored form is my GCF and my binomial. This is it. This is done. That cannot go through the box system. Number 6. My GCF, ooh, 29 is prime. Did you know that? I know my GCF is just a 1. So taking out a 1 is useless, but I'm going to do it just for emphasis because usually it's not a 1. I'm going to identify my A, my B, and my C. Aye, aye, aye. You guys ready for some big numbers here? A, C, B. Oh my, 14 times negative 15. This is going to be big. That's okay. 14 times negative 15 is, not divide, silly me, negative 210. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, dear heavens. I'm going to actually start at 7, just because I feel like it's definitely not going to be any lower than that. Negative 210 divided by 7 is, oh my gosh, should I get it? No, I didn't. Okay, okay. Divide by 7, negative 30. Add those and you get negative 21. Okay, let's do by 8. Nope, decimal. Let's do by 9. Decimal. Let's do by 10. Negative 21. Add those to get negative 11. Uh-oh. Maybe it is something smaller. Maybe it is smaller than 7. Oh no. I'm going to regret this, aren't I? Okay, guys. I think I know it's going to be, I'm actually going to work my way down. I'm actually going to go to 6. See, I should have trusted the process, darn it. Okay, let's add those. Oh man, I got them. Okay, so when you divide by 6, you get negative 35. When you add them, you get negative 29. There it is. Woof. Shame on me for not trusting the process. If I would have just done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I would have got it right away. Instead, I had to back up and use some pretty high level reasoning there. Shame on me for not trusting the process. So it's 6 and negative 35. Let's see what was up here. 14x squared and negative 15. These need half those variables, so x and x. All right, GCF here, 2 and x. GCF here, a 5 with a negative from the top. GCF here, a 7 and an x. GCF here, a 3 and a positive. Final answer is my GCF, my first binomial, my second binomial, and remember, those could be switched. You could have the 7x plus 3 first. The keystones won't have the 1 in the front, and that is the end of that problem. All right, last thing, we got some review going on from Algebra 1. Let me see. I have my senior presentations are coming up, so I just need to make sure I am good to go here. All right, I don't have them until 1 o'clock. I can do this. No, I can't. Not in this amount of time. I'm going to have to record this part later.